the Abscondo podcast. Hi, this is Mark. On this podcast, I want to talk about giving and receiving. We'll look at some of the ways that giving and receiving are both broken or can be broken in our lives, and how to heal the act of giving and the act of receiving. So as a starting point, it's important to understand that there's actually no difference between giving and receiving. It's one act. What are we talking about? We're talking about something that's happening between two people or more than two people in the present moment. So is it a speaker and an audience? The speaker is giving of him or herself. The audience is receiving. And when that works, you have value being created. Or you can look at a relationship. Is there a difference between giving and receiving? Let's talk about the giving side of things. If we give our children what they need in terms of our love and our attention and help, we end up receiving the pleasure of having wonderful children. If we give of ourselves completely in our work, we receive income for that work. If we create more value through our work, we receive a higher income and abundance financially. If we're giving with our romantic partners, if we're sexually giving, we receive a lot of pleasure ourselves in the act and also in what we receive in return. So anywhere you look in life, what are we talking about? We're talking about giving, which is what? Which is trying to do something for someone else, not for yourself. And the ego, of course, doesn't see the point. The ego is concerned with getting. What the ego doesn't understand is that there's no difference between giving or getting. And so if your attitude toward both isn't healthy and aligned with truth, you're breaking the cycle, right? So there's no way to receive without being willing to give also. So you might question that. So let's look at that further. There are people in the world, and we know them. We know some people like this who are concerned with getting. They love to receive. They think they deserve everything. And they found ways to manipulate people, whether it's through guilt and shame, argument. They make people feel like they have to do something for you have to do something for that person. Maybe they're good looking, and so people naturally gravitate toward them and shower them with praise and attention. So however it is that if you're focused on receiving and you perfectly enjoy receiving, but not really so much the giving part, what ends up happening is that the relationships you have don't have that much value. So you might get what you think you want, but at the cost of alienating the relationship. So there is resentment. There is something broken about the relationship, whether it's, a work relationship with a customer. You might get them to pay you, but if you're not also giving, it's probably a one-time deal. You break the relationship. Same thing with romantic partners. If you're married to someone and you're concerned about getting, well, and one day that your partner might find someone else who knows how to do that cycle, and they end up being a lot happier with someone else. So short term, it's possible to only get and not care much about giving, but long term, that's not, and we're talking about the present moment as being something that's always real. So that there is no past or future. It's always now. So in this now, you're losing that person by not being giving. There's another element here to look at, which is the element when it comes to giving. Is there guilt involved? Have you been manipulated into doing something you don't really want to do? So true giving has to come from this deep desire to give, not from someone asking for it. Although, of course, there are times when someone asks for something and you're happy to give. But you have to be happy to give. Otherwise, don't. That's not giving. That's just being played by someone. Okay, so it's not a healthy thing to engage in. There's no positive outcome in doing that. And if you're not giving of yourself, you're not giving, all you have to give is yourself. So you're not actually giving, you're just being used by someone. Okay, so if there's any kind of if there's any kind of guilt or shame, we just invented a new word on the Abscondo podcast. If there's any kind of shilt in the relationship, then it's not necessary to give. In fact, it's probably healthier not to, and to explain that you're just not gonna. And so that's the giving side. But on the receiving side, something else can happen where we don't always receive with pure enthusiasm, right? So sometimes we feel guilty receiving from someone. We don't really believe they want to be giving to us. We're not worthy. And this is a lovely attitude. You're humbling yourself, and in some ways it's kind of nice. But what you're doing is you're breaking that cycle. You're breaking that single act and the single moment between two people. So if someone is doing something for you or to you or with you, giving to you in some way, the best way to respond to that is to fully embrace it. Receive fully, enjoy receiving, believe that it's for you, that it's great, the person wants to do it, and appreciate it and enjoy it. And then, of course, give in return. And what you're doing now is you're creating this a wonderful, wonderful cycle of value creation. You're expanding consciousness. You're playing. The universe is expanding. You're enjoying life. You're creating value. You're creating abundance. You're creating fun. You're creating a relationship. So this is the cycle of enjoyment, right? Without this cycle, you're just bored. Without the cycle of giving and receiving with other people, nothing is happening. It's, you're watching TV, you're watching a movie, you're by yourself. That's not the way to enjoy life. So good luck with relationships without mastering the art of giving and receiving. And there is no really art. It's just a matter of enjoying doing both. On the giving side, you understand that you're not sacrificing yourself. Your giving is you being alive, you contributing to life, leaving your footprint, your imprint on things. Giving is you being, living, exercising your talents and your passions and your skills and being present and it's just, what else is there but that, right? I mean, what would be the point of doing nothing and receiving it all? What fun is that? And on the receiving side, I think sometimes, it's hard to master both of these. I know people who love to give, but they feel a little bit weird about receiving. And if you can do both with enthusiasm, you've just entered a whole different level. You're never going to do it through the ego, because the ego sees past and future. The ego says, well, I did something for you and I didn't receive anything yet. Well, then you didn't do it for the right reasons. You didn't give with enthusiasm for the act of giving. That should have been a pleasurable act to begin with. Don't do anything to anyone or for anyone that isn't pleasurable to begin with. It should challenge you in the right way. It should be fun in the right way. You should see immediate joy that makes you happy. It's not a calculation. It's just how it is. But the ego is going to calculate. The ego is going to say, well, I don't want to go first. I want to make sure that first they should give me something, and then I can trust, and then I'm going to give of myself. But the problem is most people are stuck in the ego. That's the normal state of existence. So if you're waiting for someone to go first, well, that person's waiting for you to go first. So no one goes first and nothing happens. And you have what we have today in the world, which is a lot of isolation between people, a lot of distrust. I even have to explain to people sometimes why we want more relationships, why connection with other humans is a good thing. It's that, it's gotten that bad. Do we understand that connection with, that's what life is? That's the most beautiful thing. That's being alive. That's what we're here to do, to love our brothers and sisters. Do we really think that the point of life is to have a husband or wife next to you who's doing everything for you? What a sad life that would be. No. We open our hearts. Well, first of all, you open your mind, because the mind is what controls opening and closing. Open mind means that you're open to giving, you're open to receiving. You're honest about who you are. You're open about what you don't like and what you do like and what you don't want to do. And you're just honest about things. And you're accepting of everyone. You're accepting of everyone else, giving them the same space you want for yourself. Now, within that space, what are we going to do? We're going to give fully and have fun with it. We're going to receive fully, and enjoy it. And we're going to go back and forth and just create all this value and this awesomeness between us. Whether, any relationship, anything we do with other people, this is what it's all about. And the more you can do that cycle in business and life and friendship, romantically, whether or in your whatever it is you're doing in your art and your creation of things, let that giving, do it for the audience. Not for you to get fame. Do it for the audience. Now you're giving, now you're creating, now you're giving of yourself, and it's going to succeed, right? I hope this makes sense. I guess that's all I have to say on this topic. It's actually that simple. It's so simple I could have ended about halfway through this talk. So this is a lesson that we can easily understand, but the ego will never understand. This comes from the heart, and there's a knowing and a logic here that I know that is recognizable. And the mind's been wrong all these years in most of us. I've got to be better at receiving. I'm pretty good at giving, although I still sometimes calculate whether there's enough a return, and that's not the way to give. That's the wrong reasons. It's a desperation and things. And receiving, I'm not bad at receiving. I have a lot of fun receiving as well, but I can get even better at that as well. I'll leave you with another one of my songs, and thank you once again for joining me in the Abscondo podcast. Just a quick note, we're starting the foundation, the I Am Mindful Being Foundation. We are starting meetups around the world. We have the first 4 scheduled: Seattle, San Diego, Boston, and Sydney, Australia. And we're going to have a meetup where people come together in the spirit of openness, what we're talking about here, to practice, to meet new people, to form new relationships with perfect strangers, and with no agenda, with no specific outcome, no specific points of discussion, but to show up at venues around the world, a bunch of people, introducing themselves and talking about whatever they want to talk about with a spirit of acceptance and openness. So we're starting those, and I hope that we see some good attendance. We're starting to see some signs of life there, and I think that they're going to go well, and we'll do them monthly, and we'll keep adding cities and towns across the world until we have hundreds going around the world. And I'm not even going to be at most of them, but I just love the fact that this is going to be happening, and it's just playful and wonderful. And let me know if you'd like to help out. I mean, when I say help out, go to a meetup, an I Am meetup that we do in your town or city. Just let me know where you live. Give me, write to me, mark.maney@abscondo.com. It's Manney is my last name, mark.manney@abscondo.com. And let me know if you'd like me to arrange a meetup at a venue in your town, and you'll meet some new people and begin to have these deeper conversations with some new people in your life and open up a bit. So I'd be happy to do that. I will leave you with a song, and thank you once again.
If I never met you, I never would have learned to love again. And if you never met me, you might have never learned to love at all. The world is filled with chances and choices we must make, but this one isn't very hard at all. We're lucky in these lives as two, but I feel luckier when I'm next to you. If you feel lucky too, it's your turn to fall. She destroys me with guilt, you give me freedom. Those dreams in my eyes, somehow you see them. So I walked away into your arms, though I know I can't stay. We're lucky in these lives as two, but I feel luckier when I'm next to you. If you feel lucky too, it's your turn to fall. We're lucky in these lives as two, but I feel luckier when I'm next to you. If you feel lucky too, it's your turn to fall. It's your turn to fall. It's your turn to fall. They destroy you with guilt, I give you freedom. Those dreams in your eyes, somehow I see them. So will you walk away into my arms? Those questions of faith are questions of freedom. Those dreams in my eyes, somehow you see them. I found a place to play, will do no harm. Though though I know we can't stay. We're lucky in these lives as two, but I feel luckier when I'm next to you. If you feel lucky too, it's your turn to fall. We're lucky in these lives as two, but I feel luckier when I'm next to you. If you feel lucky too, it's your turn to fall. It's your turn to fall. It's your turn to fall.